Hello, everyone out there in Rumble, X, and YouTube land. Welcome back to Diagnose. Real quickly, I just wanted to make this short little video to talk about what happened the other day. Okay, a lot of people are talking about it. I wanted to put my 2 cents in here. Okay, about Rob Reiner. All right, okay, for those of you kids out there, you don't know what I'm talking about. All right, but if you're my age, okay, if you're middle aged, you know what I'm talking about. There's a show from a long time ago, before I was born even, called All in the Family. Okay, and All in the Family dealt with a lot of taboo topics. Okay, it was very social conscience. Okay, very what you could consider progressive today. Okay, they were the ones that really like jump started it. Okay, I mean there was stuff before All in the Family. Like the Mary Tyler Moore Show, probably one of the biggest ones as far as injecting feminism into the modern day culture, or what was the modern day culture. That and shows like, That Girl and stuff like that, You actually had a woman who lived with her boyfriend. They weren't married. Ooh. And they had no kids. Ooh. Like that was all like considered taboo. And so they were like, they broke down barriers for that. And so did Mary Tyler Moore. But what All in the Family did that was special was they talked about the topics. They talked about politics on the show. Okay. And they made it funny. They made it very funny. Okay, the character of Archie Bunker. Okay, the patriarch of the family. Okay, he was depicted as a dumbass. Okay, yeah, he was. He was very ignorant. Okay, he was racist. Okay, he was homophobic. Okay, he was sexist. Yeah, he was all those things that liberals love to proclaim all men as. Okay, and then you had his son-in-law, played by the late Rob Reiner, who played Michael Stivic, his son-in-law, and he was a liberal, progressive. He was all about equal rights for women, for people of color. Okay, all that kind of stuff. Freedom, religion, whatever, all those kind of things. He was all that. Okay, so he was a libtard. Okay, this show I think first came out in 1971. Whatever, and of course they clashed. Okay, and the reason the show was watched by both the conservatives and the liberals. Okay, by the Republicans and the Democrats, they loved the show. Okay, because it did something unique. Okay, it depicted both sides as being wrong and right. I think now, obviously, everyone involved in All in the Family, okay, they were all liberals. Okay, Hollywood has always been liberal. It's never been conservative. Okay, they're all liberals, and so obviously that was the point of view they wanted to portray as the positive one, thereby making fun of the conservative point of view. That was what all shows do. Okay, but the weird thing about All in the Family was that Carol O'Connor's portrayal of Archie Bunker was the star of the show. And his portrayal of him not only made this racist, ignorant guy, not only did it make him hilarious, it made him very sympathetic. Yes, you felt empathy for a man, a straight, white, misogynist, racist, homophobic man. You felt sympathy for him. You actually liked him. You see what I mean? I don't think that was done on purpose. I think that was done completely because of Carol O'Connor's portrayal of Archie Bunker. And he was the star of the show. People tuned in to see him. Okay? This guy who went against all the liberal values. Went against all of them. But yet people tuned in to see him. Okay? Which was amazing. It's like the only time I can think of that happening again was on Family Ties, another woke libtard show from the 80s. Okay, yet the star of that show was Michael J. Fox portraying Alex P. Keaton, who was a die-hard Reagan-loving conservative, yet his parents were hippies. And he stole that show. People loved him. He was the breakout star of that show. He was the funniest person on that show. People turned into Family Ties to see Michael J. Fox as Alex P. Keaton. Okay? And it's the same thing with the All in the Family. Okay, but All in the Family did it first. They tuned in to see Archie Bunker, what he was going to do. Okay? And the reason and the reason for this is it wasn't because the audience were all racist and stuff and they were cheering him on. No, it was because we understood that he was ignorant. We understood that Archie Bunker was a product of his times. He acted that way because he did not know any better. And he was already too old to change his stripes. You see what I mean? And then here you got Michael Stivic, okay, played by Rob Reiner, the liberal, okay, who was always trying to correct Archie and tell him about, how, hey, just because someone's black doesn't mean they're less than white, or just because, or how come it's always the white people that have all the money, the poor and the black people that don't. I mean, he was always there. Women's rights and all that kind of shit. Well, a woman should make the same amount of money as a man for the same job and all that. He was doing all that stuff, okay? And he was trying to some of the best fights they had was the arguments between Archie and Michael, his son-in-law, who was this progressive, which is what the showrunners were. The writers of the show, they were all progressives, okay? They were all on Mike's side. That's why they put him in there, to show the old dinosaur how wrong he was and how outdated his thinking was. But here's the cool thing about All in the Family, okay, is yes, Archie Bunker was all those terrible things, okay? But at the same time, he was the only person in that household. Remember, it's his wife, his daughter, and his son-in-law, all living in his house. He was the only one on that show that was working. So every day he went off to work, a blue collar job. Again, he worked at the loading docks or something. Okay, but he was like a supervisor or something. So he got paid more than the average person. Okay, but he'd been working there a long time. Okay, he supported that entire fucking family, including his son-in-law, who did not work. He did not pay rent. He lived in his father-in-law's house for free. He ate their food for free. And yet he was the one that was criticizing his father-in-law for having outdated moralistic values. He was the one correcting the man who provided him free of charge with food and shelter so that he could go to school full time and hopefully graduate and get a good job and move out. See what I mean? And the writers knew damn well that it bothered Archie Bunker that he was supporting this this hippie freeloader in his house. Okay? And any conservative can understand that. Okay? How can you have the moral high ground when you're fucking living in my house for free? Okay? Eating my food, living in my house, and yet here you are criticizing me every day because you don't agree with my politics. You see what I mean? You see the hypocrisy there? The show didn't shy away from that. Okay, and that's another reason that the conservatives were on board with the show too, because they realized, oh my God, this guy's supporting this asshole, and yet he's over here lecturing him. See the double standard? And they made jokes about this on the show. There was a lot of time that Michael, the liberal progressive hero, had to eat a lot of crow because he realized, like, damn it, dude, I am mooching off of this guy. I'm mad at him for not being perfect, but yet here I am. I'm kind of a piece of shit myself, You see what I mean? Okay, the show showed both sides. Yes, they made Archie Bunker look like a total idiot. He was always mispronouncing words. He got his history facts wrong, all that kind of stuff. Like, it was hilarious. Okay, he was an old curmudgeon. Okay, but at the same time, Michael was a lazy freeloader. Okay, living off of his wife. His wife was the only one working. She had a part-time job to help out. Okay, his wife. Okay, but Archie, her dad, was the one paying all the bills. You see what I mean? So, so it made him look bad too. So both sides looked bad, is what I'm trying to say. Both sides looked really good, and both sides looked really bad. And I think that's what brought people together. Is that, yes, it's okay to make fun of each other. Okay? It's okay to criticize each other. Okay? We can all, live together despite our differences. You see what I mean? If that show were made today, Michael would have shot Archie in the head. and everybody would have cheered and clapped up and down, and he would have been acquitted like that. You see what I mean? That's the difference between 1971 and 2025. Okay? We went from making fun of each other to, you know, I won't say we, because only one side is doing the killing, to be honest with you. Only one side is doing the killing. All right? But now it's acceptable to kill. Well, it's not acceptable, but it's not uncommon to hear about a liberal killing a conservative. Just the other day, Brown University, okay, that over there in it's in Rhode Island, okay, I think it is, yeah, Brown Ivy League school, right, $75,000 a year tuition to go to school there, 99.2% liberal. That school is, the students and the faculty, and yet out of that 99.2% of the students that are all liberals, it was a woman who was part of the 0.8% of the faculty, 8% of the student body that was murdered. And as of right now, they have no suspect. They had a guy, they released him, he didn't do it. There's 800 cameras in that school. There's only one footage that we've seen on the news. And you can't tell who the person is because they're wearing a hoodie and it's from the back. It's like they don't care because she was a conservative. You see what I mean? They don't care. You know, and over in Australia, y'all know about that, okay? I mean, I guess at Bondi Beach or something. What a name. Some Muslim guy just started shooting every Jewish person he could see at the beach, you know? And it took another guy, a normal guy, okay, just a citizen, to attack this guy, take 2 shots himself, but yet he disarmed this guy, and that's how they captured him. Because the cops that were there were all female, and they all immediately, once they saw this guy, this man with a rifle, they put their hands up, okay, and let him keep killing Jews. You know, media's talking a lot about that. I don't want to talk too much about them. That's Australia. That's not even here. Okay, so it doesn't really affect us. Okay, it's just something that the media jumped on. Okay, and now we have the death of Rob Reiner and his wife. Okay, and it bothers me that, you know, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated 3 months ago, the left just pounded on that. They were making fun of it. It's like they were parading it. They were imitating him during Halloween, his death, wearing his clothes with like fake blood gushing out of the person's neck. You know, they were lying about him on the talk shows like Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, celebrities were saying that he deserved it. I mean, look at Amanda Seyfried recently said that Charlie deserved to be murdered. Okay, they were celebrating him dying. A guy who would never hurt anybody in his life. He was just a Christian, a devout conservative, and a bigger Christian. Yes, he was a straight white male. So that right there already made him an enemy. But he was extremely smart, despite the fact that he had no college education. He was like a genius level IQ. Very charismatic. He did nothing but debate leftists. Like, he went to college campuses, which were all liberal. He debated students. He debated faculty. And I never, ever saw him lose a debate. All I ever saw is once the liberal confronting him was losing the debate, they would just resort to making fun of him, making fun of his appearance, calling him gay, you know, just calling him fascist and walking away, or making fun of how ugly he is, or that kind of thing. Okay, they could never, because they couldn't win the argument. They could never beat him. All right. So, you know, that's the way liberals treated this guy, a conservative activist. But you never saw a conservative treat a liberal activist that way. And if they did, the whole world would have known about it. Okay? That person would have gotten doxxed so fast. Okay? And it wasn't just the ordinary liberal college students. It was the celebrities too, most of which are liberal. The celebrities are not liberal. They're closeted conservatives because they know what will happen to their career if they come out as conservative. Okay? Now you do have those liberals. I mean, you do have those celebrities that don't care, like James Woods, Rob Schneider. They don't care, you know, that they're not, you know, that Hollywood has blacklisted them for their political views, you know. But you know, so Sylvester Stallone, people like that, you know, these are people willing to stand up. You know, John Voight, there's another one. They're willing to stand up against this libtard mind virus that has been a part of Hollywood probably since the beginning of Hollywood. Okay, they've always been liberals. They've always been libtards. Okay, so when you look at the way that they're treated, okay, it's completely different. I did notice something though. I did notice that usually whenever a liberal condemned the treating of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the older ones, okay, the older ones. Now I want to say Jamie Lee Curtis because she did condemn how people were treating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and then she backtracked when her liberal friends got on her ass about it. She backtracked and said like, "Oh yeah, well he did deserve it though. I didn't mean to say that he was a good guy. I meant to say that he shouldn't have gotten murdered. That's all I meant." You see what I mean? She backtracked. Okay. But one person who did not do that, okay, was Rob Reiner. Okay, Rob Reiner, I mean, he's 78 years old. He went on TV and he said, "Listen, I did not agree with Charlie Kirk's politics at all. I'm not even a Christian. I'm Jewish. Okay, so I'm not even his religion. But he did not deserve to be assassinated just because of his conservative beliefs. He did not deserve to be assassinated." And to me, that was props. Oh my God, if only more liberals were that way. If only more liberals were that way, I would have no problem with them. But unfortunately, they're not. Liberals are the party of evil, in case you haven't noticed. Okay? We've all noticed. Why do you think Trump's in charge now? Why do you think Trump's the president? Now, how do you think that happened? How do you think we won the Senate and the popular vote? Okay? And the electoral college. How do you think we won all that? And Congress. Okay? Because we know deep down inside, the majority of people understand that the values that the liberals have right now are just evil. Evil. I'm not saying the people are evil. Okay? They've been indoctrinated. They've been brainwashed. But deep down inside, we all have an idea of what's right and wrong. And the ends mostly do not justify the means. You know, if you think that, you know, killing a whole bunch of white people is going to make up for slavery, okay, you're a fucking idiot. You've lost the plot. If you think that discriminating against straight white guys, white Christian men, is going to somehow balance the scales because of what has happened to black people in this country for hundreds of years, get the fuck out of here, okay? Nobody alive today lived through slavery, okay? Nobody. Okay, it's crap. It's crap. And deep down inside, we all know it. We all know it. All right, so, you know, DEI, woke, all that kind of crap, okay? Completely against that stuff, okay? Now, Rob Reiner, okay, I loved him. I loved some of his movies. I did not see Princess Bride. It's on my list to review, but I've never seen it because I'm not a woman and I'm not gay. I have not seen Stand By Me, but I want to watch it. Okay, I'm going to watch it pretty soon. Here, A Few Good Men. I have seen that many times. I was in the Marines myself, so I did relate to that movie a lot. A Few Good Men, yes. I have seen that. Okay, I have not seen Spinal Tap. Okay, I've not seen the sequel. Okay, but I did see When Harry Met Sally. I did see that. Okay, and I thought it was kind of cute. It wasn't very realistic, but it was cute. And I think he did Sleepless in Seattle too. Okay, I think he did that one. I did see that. Okay, so although that's on my list to review as well. I've not reviewed it, but I've seen it. Okay, so Rob Reiner has been a part of my childhood growing up. Okay, he's been there. All right, and I think it was last year he said that if Trump was reelected, that he was going to set himself on fire. I think it did. Can anyone confirm that? But I think I read that about. He said something like that. He would set himself on fire if Trump was elected president. Yes, Rob Reiner had serious TDS. Okay, all right. Yeah, I think I read that somewhere. I think I also heard that when Trump was elected, that he put himself in a mental institution because he couldn't deal with the fact that Trump got reelected. I think I read something like that. Once again, I can't verify this, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Okay, I'm pretty sure I heard both those things were true. Okay, yeah. So he had nothing good to say about Trump. Okay, but just because of that, he did not deserve to lose his life over it. Okay, and he didn't lose his life over his political beliefs. Okay, now Donald Trump did post something on Truth Social where he said he's sorry that Rob Reiner died, but that, you know, I mean, he died. One of the reasons he died is because he suffered from TDS, you know, blah blah blah, you know. And to me, that's a bit of walking on Rob Reiner's grave. Okay, it's dancing on his grave. Okay, I do not condone President Trump's actions there. I do not condone what he wrote. Clearly, that was passive aggressive. Okay, I mean, Christ, the man was murdered, for Christ's sake. All right, he was murdered in his own bed. Him and his wife, by their son, no less. Okay, their piece of crap son that they did a terrible job parenting. A rich, spoiled brat, Beverly Hills fucking punk. Okay, who had everything handed to him in life, and yet he still fucked it all up. Okay, you know, if only he'd been as good of a parent as he was a director. Okay, but he did not deserve to die that way. All right, and I do not appreciate what Trump said. Does that mean that I don't like Trump anymore? Of course not. Okay, what was the other option? You see what I mean? Okay, you kind of had to go to Trump. Okay, even if you hated him, you still had to vote for him. Okay, because you know what the other option would have been. Okay, so he's the lesser of two evils. Okay, now personally, I love most of what Trump does, but I do not appreciate what he said. Okay, in that tweet. Okay, or that Truth Social post that he made. Okay, I hate the fact that this is how he met his end, because Rob Reiner's been a part of my life growing up. Like I said, ever since All in the Family, ever since, you know, his movies that he's made, you know, he's always been there in the periphery of my life. You know, Rob Reiner. Okay, I mean, I remember when he was on an episode of The Partridge Family when I used to watch the reruns. You know, I mean, he's been around. He's done a lot. You know, but mostly to me, yes, he was Meathead. I wasn't alive when that show first came out. I watched the reruns like most of you did. Okay. But it was funny as hell. If you have not seen All in the Family, you need to watch it. The stuff they talk about in there, you could never talk about today on TV. Never. And you know what I mean by that. Okay? The words they used. You could never say that stuff on TV, much less regular TV. Okay? You cannot say that stuff anymore. Okay? But yeah, the show was hilarious. And Rob Reiner was a big part of that. Okay? He's a very talented filmmaker. Okay? I did not agree with his politics. Okay, but he did not deserve to lose his life over his politics. He did not lose his life over his politics. Okay, no, he lost his life because he had a piece of crap son. He had a piece of crap son who clearly he did not raise this kid the right way. And him and his wife had to pay for that. You know, it makes me think about how I'm raising my son. You know. I mean, that's just, I mean, patricide, that's just horrible. Like, what the hell? What the hell? You know? But anyway, I am sorry about what happened to Rob Reiner. And I pray for his family. Yeah, even though I did not agree with his politics at all. Okay, it bothers me that he was murdered this way. You know, it really does. You know, I didn't agree with him at all politically. But he was a very good filmmaker, and you know, a very talented guy, and he was a part of my life growing up. He was a part of my life, you know. And if you're my age or around my age, you know, we're at that point where, you know, every day we're starting to lose the people that were there while we were growing up, that have been there since the beginning. I mean, just the other day I heard what's his name? The same day Rob Reiner died, some soap opera actor died. Okay, Luke from General Hospital. Okay, those of you my age, you know about the Luke and Laura. That was like a big romance plot on General Hospital. My mom watched General Hospital like fucking crazy. Okay, so that's how I knew who this guy was. I can't even think of his name right now, but I remember him. He had like the perm. that was in style back then. And Luke and Laura, like, and then I guess he came back to playing that role again, like 15 years ago or something. I don't know, 20 years ago, whatever. Okay, but I just remember this guy. I don't remember his name. I just remember him because Mom was really obsessed with Luke and Laura on General Hospital. Okay, apparently the Luke and Laura wedding was like the most watched daytime event in the history of television. Okay, anyway, well, that guy died. Okay, and it turns out he was gay. He was living with his husband, like in the Netherlands. Like, what the hell? This guy was gay the whole time. I didn't even know. I had no idea he was gay. Obviously, everyone he worked with knew, but I didn't know he was gay. I didn't really think about this guy. I just remember him from, General Hospital. My mom watched that show. Okay, but now he's gone. So it's just like, these people from your life, they're just disappearing. And it's sad. It really is. We've lost several celebrities now. And just the people that were there, it breaks my heart, but I'm still trying to get over Carl Weathers dying, and that was a year ago. That was like almost 2 years ago. Yeah, Apollo Creed from Rocky. Yeah, he passed away almost 2 years ago. I'm still trying to process that. I was watching Rocky 4 the other day. So, yeah, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Okay, rest in peace, Rob Reiner. I'm sorry that you met your end that way. Nobody deserves to die like that. And even though I didn't agree with him politically, I did not wish any harm for him. Okay, and you know why? I don't wish any harm for him, and I never did. Okay, was because I'm not a liberal.